Now then, welcome to the latest instalment of Red Army TV. We're in D2 at the Dickens. Thanks to the guys for having us, and we're still outside. We have the heater, it's wonderful. I just need tequila sunrise and I'll be as happy as a pig in the usual. Right, we've got Boro chat. Daz Morrell.
Yeah.
Big Boro fan.
Yes.
Welcome again, mate.
Thanks for having us back on.
No, you're welcome, mate. You talk well and you come up with some good stuff, so we'll have you back on occasionally.
Right, cheers for
Just
that.
means you have to buy him a beer a bit later on. And the man who is the Gazette Boro guru, it is Anthony Vickers. Hello, mate. How are you?
Yeah, nice to be here.
Yeah, good to have you here. We've got a couple of games to chew the fat over. Let's go back a week almost. Coming out of an international break, the Boro facing Wednesday. Obviously, we sacked a manager last time we went down there and won, but great result, Dan.
Yeah, excellent result. I mean, Sheff Wednesday were one of the form teams. They were unbeaten at home. The previous two games, they'd Leeds and West Brom. In both those games, they scored cracking goals. Adam Reach. I think it was a tough game, and coming out of the international break was very important. The previous one at Norwich, very flat start, very clunky, and it kind of set the tone for the next couple of weeks. So I think it was important to go to Hillsborough and get something. And Boro did that. 2 good goals, could possibly have had another couple. A bit of a late wobble and a nervous finish, but we're used to that. It was a good day at the office.
Was it a wobble though? I mean, that's the interesting one for me, because I thought I saw a bit of Teesside steel coming out there, kill the game, waste a bit of time, go down injured. It's not normally like the Boro. We're normally backs against the walls, and are they going to knock a second one in? What did you make of it?
There was a stat come out with the Boro. I think it's 68 games when we've got in front. We haven't been defeated. Obviously, I don't know if that's when Pulis has been in charge. I thought it was, as an away performance, I thought it was an unbelievable performance by the Boro. They didn't create anything all game. They just had one little chance, and Adam Reach just pulled out a worldie, and he's put it in the back of the net. But
it took a scrum in the last minute to keep it out.
It was some scrum, wasn't it? That was probably the most entertaining thing of the game. I know we scored a couple of good goals, but
we've actually got a picture of Clayton. Was fantastic. Have we got that picture ready with Adam Clayton? Because I don't know where he was sticking his head, but it certainly looked very close to Danny Ayala's backside.
Well,
it was all hands to the pump on it.
It's about the 3 points. At the end of the day, isn't it? You've got to do what you've got to do.
I've read a few fans, and obviously you get views galore, and you'll get them through the Gazette and Teesside Live particularly. Fans not happy with first half performances, but when you go on away to an informed team, a team that could be up there challenging, it's over the 90 minutes where you want to judge the performance, isn't it?
Yeah, and it's over the season as well. I mean, any team's going to have dips. You just need to look. You can pick out any club. Man United finished second last year, and their fans decided very early on they didn't like the manager, they didn't like the style of football, and that set the tone, and people moan. A lot of people have decided here already they don't like Tony Pulis before he even arrived because of his reputation. He plays long ball football, and there's this illusion that somehow we're entitled to something better. As if Boro were like Barcelona. You sound deluded, like when West Ham talk about their school of science and they won the World Cup and the West Ham way. That's nonsense. The only thing that matters in football is getting results, and clubs tend to switch from one style to another. If you have an attacking manager and the defence goes awry and you have a bad season, the next manager tends to be a more defensive-minded, conservative, and you stiffen it up and add a bit of steel. And then a couple of years down the line, people start to say, this is too defensive, we don't like this, we should be attacking more, we want goals. And that's part of the natural life cycle of a club. We had exactly the same thing with Karanka, the same arguments, possibly the same people making the same positions. And yes, Karanka was a very defensive coach. Yes, there were long spells where Boro made no attempt to attack because they were strangling the game. But at the end of the day, he delivered.
Got us into the Premier League.
Got into the playoffs one year, got promoted the next. And that's what you get in football. A certain type of manager will set out to play a certain type of football. It's totally pointless criticising Tony Pulis for not playing like Barcelona. He's going to play like Tony Pulis.
I personally believe Tony Pulis at the moment is a magician. Because let's be honest, how are we sat top of the league with the strikers we've got?
I'm glad I finally found somebody who agrees with me, because I think we're overachieving.
Yeah,
I don't think we're as good as being top of the championship.
No,
but then
I think we've got the quality, and Pulis knows that. And I don't think he's going out to attack teams, because he knows he's got the quality there. Last night it wasn't there; it was brutal. But he knows we keep it tight. 9 times out of 10, who we come up against in the Championship, because there's no great teams for me in the Championship. There's no one sticks out. We keep it tight. 9 times out of 10, we will win football matches just by keeping it tight, and the quality will shine through for me.
You play games in the areas where you're the strongest.
Yeah, I'm happy with that. If that gets us 3 points.
In terms of whether we're overachieving or not, I mean, I think people have to be honest with themselves and go back to August. And what did they expect in August? Now, when the transfer window closed, the consensus was we'd had a mare. We hadn't got the width. We hadn't got the striker he wanted.
Is he going to walk? It was that bad a transfer window.
And he was saying we're well short of a promotion challenge, and most people probably thought, it's going to be a push here to get into the playoffs. Yeah, joint top of the table. They've beaten all the teams around, all the immediate rivals. Boro have taken points off, and yes, they're blips. You get that in any, especially in this division. You get blips in the road, but people have to be honest and say that for most people, Boro are well ahead of schedule from what they would have predicted back in August.
There was the change at Wednesday, wasn't there? Dale Fry came in. There was no Braithwaite, probably because he was knackered with international duty. But Fry came in, 3 central defenders. Let's have the full-backs as wing-backs, that sort of thing. And we changed it completely against Rotherham. Which do you prefer?
Well, I looked at it last night, and it seems to be that I think you'd rather have an extra midfielder in there, because when he plays 2 strikers, we don't seem to score goals. When he plays with 1 striker, we win games. Do you know what? Last night's performance, I don't think you can blame the formation, the manager, the players, apart from Asim Blonga and Braithwaite last night. They had the opportunities to win a football match, which they should be taking, and we should have won that game. It's simple as. So we can talk tactics all we want, but at the end of the day, we did enough last night to win a football game in terms of chances created, regardless of the formation, or regardless of Paddy McNair not having the best game at right back or whatever. We did enough to win last night. The strikers, after all their hands up, and say, you know what, we shot away an extra 2 points last night. Is
that where we fell short, in front of goal?
Well, I think that's been repeatedly the case. And Tony Pulis isn't ducking the issue. He says every week in his press conference, we created enough in the final third but didn't put them away. It was the same story against Swansea. I think against Swansea he told us that they had 37 balls into the box. 3 of them were perfect from Ryan's shot and across the face of goal. One of them, Britta Sombolonga, must have missed by an inch. And that's how close it is to winning that game. Last night we were told it was 49 crosses into the box. Admittedly, most of them didn't beat the first man, and a lot of them were headed away, but it's not from want of trying, and it's not from want of winning the tactical battle.
No, definitely.
So that they are doing that. But he's been honest from August that he doesn't think he has the right balance in the final third, and that's no secret.
No, he's been totally honest.
So it's hard to then turn around and criticise him and say you haven't got the right balance in the final. Well, he's told you that.
Couple of comments coming in, and you can put them in on Facebook Live. Let's have a go. Who have we got here? Jamie Robertson. Is he one of your mates?
I play football with,
Darren Morrell in, Pulis out. There you go.
He's after a start.
Andy Mack in Abu Dhabi, basically saying average set of players, but very happy with the league position. Keep the faith. Stu Gawley. Oh, it's gone. You can have defence and attack in one team too. There you go. So there are the comments coming in, a lot more on social media as well. They were not particularly pleasing after and complimentary after last night, but we'll come on to that in the next little section. But basically, we've said Wednesday, 3 at the back, 3 big central defenders. Rotherham, more like a flat back 4-ish. Does he know his best team, or is he actually choosing the formation for the opponents?
Well, I think it's quite interesting. The first 6 games, they played really, really effectively. And that was when he had 18 players. And he was kind of forced to go with what he had. And I think then Boro were probably at their best. He went with a shape that he's never, as far as I know, played for any length of time in the past. But it was more from convenience and conviction that he went with the wing backs. And it was really effective. But at that point, he didn't have the luxury of choice. Once you start getting more players in, and before the loan deadline, he got Bezic in, who we know he loves. Saville, who they'd spent all summer trying to get in. McNair's back to fitness. Hugill's back to fitness. Suddenly you've got more options. And that's when managers maybe start to overthink it. And also then they're starting to take in consideration the opposition are going to line up like this. What do I do? And the temptation is always going to be to change it. Some people will say that's not how you work. You pick your style, you pick your best shape, you pick your best 11, and you stick with it. But he's not like that, and he's never been like that.
Thought a sec, because we've got to take a quick break for the telly, and then we'll be coming back and we'll be picking up on that as well. You too, Daz, who is going to replace Tony Pulis, according to your mates. Well, that's what they're saying. We'll catch you very shortly here on Red Army. Now then, welcome back, part 2, Red Army. Couple of little things, bit of homework to catch up on. I've promised a few people a few mentions. First and foremost, we've talked Hillsborough, Sheffield Wednesday. Borough's unsung hero, no, it wasn't anybody on the pitch, it wasn't Besic, it was this lad. Have a look at this. This is Charlie. He was the Borough's mascot on the night, and he came and sat right next to us in the stands. So I've suggested he turns out to be the Boro mascot for the next couple of weeks. See if that look can rub off and continue to rub off. Red Faction, 10th anniversary celebration surrounding the Derby game. They're having a fan zone event in the South Stand immediately after the game runs through till 4 o'clock. Live music, acoustic Weller playing stuff from the Jam and the Style Council. Raffle for signed Boro gear, sticker packs, food, drink, entertainment for the kids. All the money raised goes to their next event inside the stadium, as in their next showing inside the stadium. And finally, this one to Mick. We promised Mick we'll mention this a few times. I bumped into a lad in South Cleveland Hospital. Sorry, James Cook University Hospital. And he was one of the lads who helped me there. And a load of doctors going over to Ghana to do some heart surgery free of charge in the northern area, Kumasi area of Ghana.
Very worthy.
Yeah, it is. Just Giving pages up there. They need to raise £5,000. They're just short of £3,000 at the moment. If you can help, please do. Go on Just Giving. Type in something like heart surgery Ghana. You'll find it. It's dead easy to find on Google, so we'd give them a mention. Well done, Mick. Well done, all the doctors there as well. Vic, we were talking about being spoilt for choice here, having a big squad, getting players in. Does Pulis know his best 11? Does he know his best formation? Or is he just picking and choosing? Surely we can't go through the rest of the season, can we? Changing 3 at the back, 5 at the back, 4 at the back.
Well, I don't think there's been that many changes at the back, has there? I mean, whether it's a 4 or a 5, we more or less know who they're going to be. Midfield, it's starting to emerge that probably Clayton is pretty much nailed on for the anchor role. Mm-hmm. We know that he loves Besic. We know that Howson has been one of the most dynamic and influential individuals. So you think that's probably the 3, unless he changes the...
I think, yeah. But coming back to Besic, what do you think of his performance last night? How many times did he get caught on the ball? I thought he wasn't at his
Well, you'll have good ones and you'll have bad ones.
Yeah, but against...
I think it's the nature of the position he plays. I mean, in 1 week in 3, 1 game in 3, he will be really, really good. And everyone's saying, oh, he's back to his best. That's the Besic we know and love. Yeah. Other times, depending on the shape and the space he's got to work in, sometimes he's quite conservative. He'll do the little turn and go backwards or turn inside. Yeah. But you don't know what instructions they're working to. If he's told, keep the ball, always play it backwards, play it square, then that's what he's going to do.
Put it this
Other
way.
times he's told, if the space opens up, run.
I wouldn't replace him. Definitely not over the season. So he's some player, Besic. I hope he's some player.
I think the real problem, not just with the personnel but the shape, is that final third. Because I don't think Tony Pulis would, by choice, have any of the strikers that he's got now. That's one of the problems. I don't think there's anyone there that really fits the mould.
Why didn't we go out then in August?
Because if you want a good striker,
you've got to pay
it's
a lot of money.
And I don't think Boro can really bring in the people they really want to. Not just the transfer fee, but you're talking 50, 60, 70 grand a week. And with the best will in the world,
the agents' fees on top of
plus, with the best will in the world, those strikers have got a choice of a lot of clubs, and the vast majority of them, especially the ones from abroad, want to live in London. That's the harsh reality of it. 20 years ago, when Steve Gibson first started throwing money around, Boro could blow anyone out of the water, and that made a massive difference. So, to attract Boxic here, for instance, 60 grand a week, he was getting paid probably as much as anyone in the country.
Also, as well,
Boro can't do that now.
Just to get a player to come to the North East, you've got to pay that extra money as well. With, you know, if you want to get them to come, instead of going to London, you want to come up to the North East, you've got to shot an extra £10,000.
And the harsh reality is, financial reality is, if we're in the Premier League and we get Premier League money, then we can spend more than if we're in the Championship.
But to come back to the issue, I think he's got a set of forwards there who don't really tick all his boxes. Sombalonga, we know, is good with the ball, played at his feet, running into the box, but Boro don't really play that style. Sombalonga is not great with his back to goal, so early in the season he was struggling. He's been asked to do a job that he's not really equipped for. Braithwaite, I think, is a superb, graceful player, wonderful to watch. He finds space and time. He's got some lovely touches, but I don't necessarily think he's got the physicality to play the way that Tony Pulis would also like.
I don't know though. With Braithwaite last night, he's a chance like. As soon as he misses that chance, you can't predict the lottery, but as soon as he missed that chance, you know, don't you, that game of football, it's going to be a long 90 minutes. As soon as because the complacent finish. Braithwaite, barring last night, for me, it's been good. He needs to be in the team. He's a quality striker, but
he's the only one there that can knit those pockets of space together, and there's no question about that.
Hugo can.
But it's getting the balance right.
Yeah.
So who do you play him with? He looked quite good early in the season with Sombalonga, and they looked like there was a relationship forming there. But since then, they've changed the shape. So they were quite close together, weren't they, in those first 6 games?
Yeah.
And Boro then were playing a genuine 3-5-2, and you had 2 front men.
Now he seems to be dropping him into that right-hand side of midfield, doesn't he?
Or he's playing wide. So it's the shape's changed, so that relationship's not there anymore. We've never really seen Braithwaite with Hugill over 90 minutes, with Hugill fit. I mean, you've got to bear in mind, he's barely played since January. He's come here, he's had no pre-season, and then he's been thrown in, and I don't think he's anywhere near sharp enough yet.
So what do you do? Saturday, Derby.
Big game.
You've got Britt Asombalonga that always scores against Derby, and at the minute he's under pressure. So, does he bring somebody in and replace Britt, or does he keep Britt in the team? Because he always scores against Derby.
I think he'll stick with Britt because whereas some teams are going to sit back and defend and try and squeeze space against Boro, that's where you need a Hugill or a Gazette to bully the defence and not win the knockdowns. I think Derby are probably going to play football. They're going to push out more. There'll be more space to exploit, which means that Braithwaite then can find those little areas and spread his magic and play the ball into the feet of the people that are running. So then you get a Sombalonga breaking forward, possibly Howson and Bezic breaking forward, making those runs, and the space will be there. So I think he's more likely to be a more fluid formation.
Yeah.
The one we haven't looked at though is Gazette. He's obviously come back from injury. Pulis reputed to like a tall striker. Certainly likes to call him on from the bench, in the last 10-15 minutes. Could he be looking at throwing Gazette in there?
Well, do you know, last night when watching the game, Gazette, he got a bit of stick. But when you watch the game back last night, he had 2 opportunities, Gazette, where he would have been in. But Britt Asombalonga, through desperation, there was a ball come over, Gazette was onside. Britt's tried to get involved and been flagged offside, and Gazette went crazy. He's like, I'm onside. So I wouldn't start him, no. But he is an impact player.
So let's talk Derby. Because that's what's upon us.
You've got to say Frank Lampard's Derby.
Frank Lampard's Derby. A mate of mine's actually a big Derby fan, and he was telling me during the week no one's looking forward to coming to the Boro. So we've got this little mystique, this little aura now that surrounds us. But how tough's it going to be?
I think the teams that come and try to play football are better for Boro. I think it gives more space. It allows the quality players to shine and do what they do. I think Boro are going to find it harder against the teams that come and shut up shop. And it's also more frustrating, and the crowd become nervous, and maybe that feeds into the team sometimes. So I think the likes of Derby, Leeds, who played football, West Brom, who try to push out, I think that's better for Boro.
Yeah.
I think it'd be certainly a more open, entertaining game than the likes of Rotherham or even Bolton and Swansea who try to shut the space. So I'm looking forward to it.
I don't think it will. I think it's going to be a shutout. I think Pulis is going to keep it tight. He's not going to overcommit, because at the end of the day, if you want to win or get automatic promotion, the most important thing is not drop points against the teams around you. So I think he's going to keep it tight. It's going to be a very tight game and try and nick the win. I don't think it's going to be an open game. I think it's going to be very, very tight and frustrating game. But do you know what? I do think that we will nick the points against Derby. I really do.
What are you going for?
I'm going to go for a 1-0 win to Middlesbrough.
1-0 win Boro?
I'll have 2.
Are you going for 2, are you?
That's where my daft Prince on 2.
Come on, where are the goals coming from? We've talked goals.
Britt Aston Belonga, he always scores against Derby. Do you know, it's Britt. Put your money on Britt to score. Do you know,
is this that Forest Derby thing? He's grown up with the
his
Forest
record.
Derby.
Just look at his record against Derby for some reason. He can't score against Forest. He can't score from 2 yards, but against Derby, he just seems to score. Do you know? So put your money on it.
Where's the goals coming from, Vic?
I think it's due for one of the defenders, our monster defenders, to nod one in.
I always take Ayala. I always double Ayala up with a scoreline. He came in once last season.
I know there's no value now. The bookies have slashed his odds ridiculously.
You get better odds on Britt than Ayala. Do you know what I mean? You get better odds on Britt than Ayala these days. So
last season, any time scorer started about 18s, and by the end it was down to about 3 or 4.
So you're going 2-0, eh?
2-0.
Good man. 1-0.
1-0.
2-0. Fellas, we're out of time. Thanks very much for chewing the cud. Love to have you on again before the season ends.
Yeah. Yep.
I know you'll be in a couple of times with your mate. What's your mate called again?
Matty Proudman.
Matty Proudman. He's actually sending you.
He said we're going to finish 9th this season, by the way.
Well done, Matty. You won't be coming on this show, that's for sure.
An optimist.
Fellas, thank you.
Brilliant.
We'll catch you next week. See you.